Seattle is currently number 1 in the NFC West.
Weird. So weird.
Right? The team that everybody has as the 4th best team in the NFC West is the only undefeated team. And they went out and beat a team that a lot of people have in the Super Bowl in the Denver Broncos at Denver, right? So very interesting. Clearly, Denver also was very 49er-ish with the amount of penalties that they had and the type of play. But week 2, right? Week 1 is done. We don't know if Kittle's going to be playing. We know Elijah Mitchell is out. We know Jimmy Ward is out. Not sure what we know about Aziz, if he's going to be in there. And I think that's Brunskill may or may not be available. But do you think that the 49ers bounce back against Seattle? And what do they need to do, Marco, to be able to get a victory over a division rival, which is always tricky no matter what, the type of talent that they have over there?
I got slandered for a tweet I posted out yesterday. But I'm going to say it on air like I did. I'm not going to backpedal because people were coming at me like, oh, you're in the DMs or you're stupid or on the comments or whatnot. It's going to be an easy victory for the 49ers. Let me repeat that again. It's going to be an easy dub for the 49ers. If we look at – so everyone's overhyping Seattle, right? They're like, oh, my God, Geno Smith looks so amazing. Well, yeah, he had a solid game. Nothing special. Look at the second half. He allowed Seattle to get the ball a couple times, right? Or not Seattle, Denver to get the ball a few times more. He didn't look that fantastic in the second half. He had a great first half. He had I want to say he started the game 13 for 13.
Great first quarter.
Yeah, a great for literally his first quarter was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then the second half, he's throwing balls in the dirt, missing receivers. So it's like, okay, he missed a couple throws in the second half. It was like, that's a throw you have to make to win games. But if we look at something similar, right, the penalties that the Broncos had were very crucial on allowing Seattle to win. Now, one thing I saw in people were like, oh, just penalties. That doesn't matter. There's actually been studies for every 100 yards a team has in penalties, it amounts to 7 points in actual game score, right? So giving 100 yards, either the Niners and the Denver Broncos did it. They gave the other team 7 points. So now, check this out. Seattle loses by 9, right? They gave Seattle 7 points. And then Denver goes and fumbles 2, not once, 2 damn times at the line of scrimmage. I guarantee you, Kyle Shanahan's offense is not fumbling 2 times at the 1 yard line because Kyle's either having Debo punch it in or Jeff Wilson or one of the other backs are punching it in, no problem.
Right.
or even a QB
Trey
by Trey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's 21 points. That's a 21-point swing, right? That they gave Seattle because of the fumble issues and the 100-yard and penalties. The Denver Broncos lost by a point. On top of that, their coaches, one of the worst coaches I've ever seen. That was one of the worst coaching stances I've ever seen from a coach.
The time management was really weird.
It was terrible. The thing is, you have 3 minutes left and I get it, Russ didn't look that great, but you have to take some shots down the field at some point. You have to be a little bit risky when you're down a point in the game, especially when you're trying to go win the game with a game-tying field goal or game-winning field goal. But instead, you kick it from 99 yards. Let's take the risk. 75-yard field goal it is. Bro, what are we doing here? Your kickers missed every 60-yard plus field goal you've ever kicked in his life. Make life easier on the dude. But I don't think if we look at everything that Seattle has, right, their offensive linemen, two right tackles are young rookies. They played pretty solid, but if we look at what Denver has, Denver doesn't have the defensive line the 49ers have. They don't have the linebacker group the 49ers have. Now, what I do give the Denver Broncos a lot of credit for is they have probably equal or better secondary than the 49ers, at least right now, because Jimmy Ward is out. Mm-hmm. So that is a better thing that they had. Now, if we go and we look at something, key things I'm going to give for everyone to understand on why I think the 49ers are going to win easily, okay? So the Denver Broncos only ran the ball 20 times, which was the biggest reason why they lost the ball. They decided to go into Seattle, and I believe this was a game where they wanted Seattle to play a hard mouth game, and everyone wants to see Russell Wilson and against the Seattle Seahawks. They come in, they allow Russ to cook. Russ isn't a quarterback that cooks. I don't get why people are saying let Russ cook. He's not a quarterback that cooks. Never has been a quarterback that cooks, right? So like, you throw the ball 42 times. Now, anytime Russ is throwing 42 times, I would say thank you, because he's a quarterback that needs that play action, that timing, and stuff like that. He needs those play action throws that allow him to run around in circles and then bounce around and find a guy wide open, right? That's who Russ is. But the key numbers, 5.2 yards per carry by Denver, okay? That is a key factor in the game. The 49ers will not stop running the ball if they're averaging 5 yards a pop.
Right.
They're going to run it down your damn throat all damn game. Now, Seattle, on the other hand, Rashad Penny looked solid. He had 5 yards per carry, and that's all they really did. They had 60 yards in total rushing outside of their quarterback. Niners looked pretty damn solid in the run game. So I'm very excited about what the 49ers are capable of doing when their offense and defense match up fairly well. I get it. It's a division game. People are like, well, those games are harder. Yeah, those games are harder when the other team's pretty solid, when the other team's good. Like, Seattle's trash. Like, I'm be straight up with everyone. Seattle's trash. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat stuff anymore, because when you see a team is trash, like, what are you supposed to do, right? They just lost Jamal Adams. They lost 2 other players in their group. They have a couple good linebackers. Their defensive line is nothing much. 49ers should be able to pounce on them. They have a lot of young corners that Kyle's going to pick on. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you, Brandon Ayuk has a very big game Sunday. Guaranteed.
I agree. And I mean, the only reason why I'm hesitant to say it is because I thought Chicago was going to be an easy game as well, and it clearly wasn't. There's something to be said about divisional games. I do think that they get the dub. For me, the one thing that I want to see, Marco, is I don't want to put the pressure on Trey to have to play from behind again, right? And one thing that Seattle did was they jumped out to an early lead against Denver. I think that's what's going to be key for the 49ers. And it's something that I think a lot of people aren't talking about. We talked about it a little bit early, but the ineptness of scoring in the first half, right? You could get away with it maybe with a guy like Jimmy who, has that confidence of coming from behind in multiple games and stuff like that. I've seen a guy like Tom Brady be able to do it over and over again. And, he's pretty, cool, Jimmy, whatever it is. Trey hasn't played too many games where he wasn't in the lead. In college, he didn't have to come back too many times, right?
So some games in college, Sunil, he didn't even play the second half.
Right, because they're already up by so much. So that's something that I think is being overlooked. And so I think it's imperative that the 49ers actually score in the first half to make this an easier game for everybody, right? If the 49ers are dictating the game because they're scoring points, that gives it the strength back to the defense, which is, we know their strength is pass rushing. That makes it easier for the secondary. That makes it easier for the depleted safeties. And it goes back to Kyle, man. I think that Kyle really needs to put some more pressure on himself, put some more pressure on the team. Let's make sure that in the first half, we're scoring 17 points, 21 points. Like, it can't just be 7-0 like it was. Because if you keep letting a team hang around, it gets to a point. Then now you're putting a lot on Trey, and it's already a lot. Like, he's already learning on the fly, right? So that's just something that I think is very key. That's what I want to see. I do think that it's a dub. I think it's a little bit closer. I got it like maybe 17-10, just because I still don't have faith that this offense is consistent enough to put up those points. But I love your optimism, my man, that you think that they're going to put up points.
I'm going to ask you a quick question, though, Sunil. So if we look at the first drive of the 49ers game, right, that's the first drive that Trey hits Brandon Ayuk on a wide open crossing route. He gets 31 yards after at that play. And then Deebo Samuel fumbled at the 12-yard line.
Right.
The 49ers were moving the damn ball.
Cooking.
They were I was like, whoa. Like, when I saw that, I was like, whoa, is this what Kyle Shanahan's offense with Trey Lance going to look like? And I was picturing, like, okay, with dry weather, if he's doing this, like, I was like, okay, you just did a quick end around with Brandon Ayuk, you go back to Debo, and now you're throwing. I'm like, okay, you're cooking, man. Like you're
Yeah.
really cooking. And then Debo fumbles. That's something that I think 49ers fans on social media are not talking about because they're afraid to criticize the dude that just got paid, right? Like they're like, no,
Right.
like Debo doesn't do like he fumbled the ball to 12-yard line. Let's be real, he fumbled. That probably cost them 7 points with how good they were actually driving, especially when
At least 3, right? At least
at
3
least.
minimum.
But when you're running the ball, when you're averaging, they were averaging like 6 yards a carry, and they hadn't even started running the ball with Elijah Mitchell, right? It was a
Yeah.
Debo Samuel. It was the first play of the game was Brandon Ayuk like on an end around for 7 yards. He gets to the 50, and then a 31-yard, and then a 6-yard end around to Debo, and then a 31-yard pass to Brandon Ayuk got him to like the 12. So they hadn't even started running the ball. Imagine when they started running the ball inside the red zone. I see 7 points. So it
Right.
should have been 14-0, and then in those conditions, 14-0, and they were already getting to.
It's a totally different game. It's a
Oh yeah,
totally different game. I agree with you, but the problem is we can't just keep going off of potential. You know what I mean?
no,
What
no,
could
but
have
like
happened. At the end of the day, they do have to execute, and
I
that's the
agree.
thing, Marco. You're absolutely right. They are good enough. I'm not saying that it's not there. What I'm saying is it's so consistently inconsistent in the sense that it's always right there, but it's never there. And we need to get it to a point where it's just there. So I agree. I see what you see. I just haven't seen it actually be executed enough to where I just know for a fact it's going to happen. And that's what I guess I'm looking for.
So would you have expected Debo Samuel to fumble the ball even with the weather
No,
conditions? No, right? Like so, like they stuff that like we
but he
for me,
did.
I'm like, but he did, right? So
Right. So
the
I'm
thing is,
saying, and they weren't ever able. Like it wasn't like that was the only play, right? They had
yeah, I
2 or 3
agree.
more
Yeah,
drives after that. You
yeah,
know what I mean? So it's like that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't want to. I'm dude. I'm a homer, right? I'm
oh
a
yeah,
Kyle
I get what you're
Shanahan,
saying.
right? So I definitely have gone into giving them the benefit of the doubt, giving them the benefit of the doubt. I just think that it's more imperative this season more than any other season that this team get out to some leads because I think that otherwise we're going to see similar situations that we saw in week 1 only because Trey doesn't have the experience really. And
Yeah,
that's just what I'm worried about.
no, I 100% agree with what you're saying. But when you're the highest paid receiver on your roster and you just sat out of camp and you supposedly came into camp a little bit out of shape, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you fumble the ball, it's like, hey, bro, you got to make life easier on your quarterback that's young.
Right.
And that's what we paid you. Like, we paid you to be that dude who's going to make life easy on him, yet you're making life hard on him. And then, but I do agree, the throw, that missed throw to Croft,
Uh-huh.
that should have been a touchdown. That's
Right.
point. You have to put points on the board.
Right.
But end of the day, we keep if I'm playing that if game and if this if that. At the end of the day, the weather conditions played a factor, and the Chicago Bears capitalized on the opportunities the 49ers defense gave them, and
Right.
they won the game. So it's going into week 2, a little bit better weather. I've been looking at the forecast. I was one of the first to tweet out the
Yeah.
weather because I'm like, damn, like what if it rains? Because the other day, like so 2 weeks ago here, I don't know where you stay, but
I'm in LA. Yeah.
okay, so I'm right here in the Central Valley. The other day it was like 116, and then like 3 days later it started sprinkling and raining on us. I was like, all right, what's going on? But it's because of that, like the supposed San Diego weather. So we're getting a little bit of that. So like, there's a good chance it rains in Santa Clara. Let me check. So at first, when I checked yesterday, it was at 40%, and I tweeted out it was at 40% expected to rain. It is now 76% precipitation. At game time, it'll be
Oh
around
wow.
66. It drops all the way to like 67. So it for sure is going to rain. It might be sprinkling. It says light showers, but it's for sure raining. Hopefully, the next few days, those clouds get pushed away up north to like Oregon area. But it's for sure going to rain, it looks like. And I think it'll be a lot lighter rain. It'll be just showers, and the wind factor will be better. So I think it will be better conditions for the 49ers to cook.
I love it, Marco. So you're expecting a blowout victory for the 49ers.
Yeah, I just don't see that. The reason why I say this isn't because I expect the 49ers offense to go and put up crazy numbers. But if we look at what they did, they put up 300 yards in a monsoon, right? They
Uh-huh.
put up 300 yards. They should have had more points. They should have had. I agree. They should have had more points. But I don't see anything from that Seattle offense on Monday Night Football that says, you know what, this team's going to hang around with the kind of defense the 49ers have. With the weather the 49ers defense had, it kind of limits you to what you could do. You don't want to blitz because now if you blitz and that guy that you blitz misses on Justin Fields, now Justin Fields is running free, running loose, right? So that's stuff that we didn't see from D'Amico Ryans because D'Amico Ryans he's an aggressive defensive play caller, and I think he's going to put the pressure on Geno Smith. Geno Smith isn't the runner that Justin
Justin
Fields is.
Fields is nope.
So it'll be. I think the defense will lead us to a blowout victory.
I love it. I agree as far as the victory part. I hope that it is a blowout, man, because look, it's very quick. Like it's you could change a narrative very quickly in the NFL, right? So right now it's been very down on Trey and the 49ers. They go and they have a dominant victory against Seattle. There's going to be some of the haters that are like, oh, it's just Seattle. But for the most part, I'm sure the faithful and everybody would be a lot more confident if they could go out and just, crush the Seahawks and give Pete Carroll a big L from Kyle Shanahan.